It's Ash from Super Videos back for another sneak peek breakdown for the upcoming episode of The Walking Dead. This is my sneak peek breakdown for 3 sneak peeks for Season 10 Episode 11 called Morning Star. One of these sneak peeks, the first one we're going to look at, is from the opening minutes, and there are 2 other sneak peeks there. So first we're going to take a look at this opening minute. Beta carving something into the tree, and then we get a reveal that they are actually extracting the tree sap from the tree, and we see that there's tons of them. It's not just Beta doing it, there are others doing it as well. They're most likely extracting the tree sap to use as food or something like that. Then the scene kind of shifts gears a little bit, and then we have Alpha handing Negan a stick. So Alpha hands this stick to Negan, and Negan says, "Does this mean I'm graduating to the next level of whisper kinky shit?" We all know what to expect from Negan, or we don't really know what to expect from Negan, but in terms of his colorful language and play on words, we know what he's capable of. So there's really nothing shocking there, but he is obviously comparing being able to punish Alpha to graduating to the next level of the Whisper hierarchy. There's a lot of truth to that, but obviously Negan is just teasing her, but this is pretty cool. And then we have Alpha saying, "You joke," something fear, like it's inaudible. I can't tell what she's saying. She has this kind of thick accent anyway, but the audio wasn't that great, so I couldn't hear what she was saying, and there was no subtitles or captions for me to actually hear what she's saying. But I think what it comes to is she's saying, "You joke about it, but it's pretty serious," like something like that. Then we have this shot of Negan getting ready to punish Alpha. Negan says, "It seems to me you've been cut up enough," referring to the many cuts on her arm, most likely from when Beta punished her. So that's pretty cool. Now it's also very, very cool and interesting, and it tells us a lot about Negan and Alpha's connection and relationship, you can say at this point. In terms of how high up Negan is, Alpha never let anyone do this to her other than Beta. So now Negan has replaced Beta to an extent, which is pretty interesting. And then Alpha says begin, and that's when Negan starts punishing Alpha. And then she says again, so they continue doing this. And then when they're done, Alpha says, "Now you." So now she's going to punish Negan. Not exactly sure why Alpha would want to punish Negan, but I guess it goes both ways. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is the reason why Alpha's getting Negan to punish her is most likely because she feels that she failed in her one-on-one with Daryl, and maybe even with trying to get the survivors in the cave in order to kill them. Like, she was more or less unsuccessful in both of those things. So I think that's why she's getting Negan to punish her. But then right after she says, "Now you," Negan begins laughing, and then he says, "Is this like rebonding for life?" So making more jokes of it. And then Alpha says, "Depends." And then Negan rolls his sleeve and Alpha begins, and that's when Negan starts laughing. It might be uncomfortable laughter a little bit, but we don't know what to expect from Negan. We don't know how much she's really into this. Then we get this shot of some whispers, walkers amongst them. We have Beta here, and they begin chanting in a whisper tone, "We are the end of the world." We've seen them chant this before, so it's nothing new. But then we have Alpha, and then she begins chanting, "We take them all." So that's something new. We haven't heard them chant this specific thing before, so that's pretty cool. But then Negan starts chanting as well, which is pretty interesting. And that's pretty much the opening minute. Pretty cool opening minute. And then we have another sneak peek. We have Alpha and Negan together. Negan says, "Got a little unsolicited advice." So he has some advice for her. This is much like the advice he gave her when it came to finding their spy. So he has more advice for Alpha. And then Negan says, "Everyone's favorite kind, I know, but I can't help myself." And then he says, "Maybe I have thought of an idea you haven't yet." So trying to ease his way into telling her what his advice is. And then he says, "I respect a well-deserved massacre." This relates back to what Alpha is probably planning, which is attack Hilltop and massacre them all. So Negan is saying, "I respect a well-deserved massacre, so I respect a massacre that's well-deserved." At this point, I immediately knew he's going to follow this up with "but," and he's gonna try to smooth talk Alpha and try to manipulate her a little bit into not actually attacking. Then he says some people, they just have it coming, again referring to the survivors and the fact that, you know, what they did may or may not have deserved this kind of response. And then he says, I get why you want to take out Hilltop and Alexandria. It'll feel good, but you know what might feel goddamn fantastic? So, like I said, I knew he was going to follow that up with a but to kind of ease his way or smooth talk Alpha into not actually attacking. But then he follows that up with getting those assholes to surrender. So Negan's strategy here is to manipulate Alpha in a way so that she doesn't attack the survivors. She tries to kind of go the surrender to me route. And then he continues that with bend the knee. That's a pretty cool callback to how he made everyone bend the knee for him. So that's pretty awesome. But one thing I want to mention that I forgot is, look at Negan. He has like dirt all over his face now. So he's beginning to look a lot like the Whisperers. He even has his Whisper mask that we see him holding. So that's pretty awesome. He says, Alpha, we can get them to join us. So he wants to get Alpha to have the survivors surrender and join them. We all know this is not happening. Negan knows this is not going to happen. But like I said, I think he's just trying to make Alpha's response less severe so that maybe the survivors will have a better chance to fight back. And that's pretty much the end of the second sneak peek. Moving on to the third sneak peek, which is actually part of the battle at Hilltop. It's the beginning of the battle at Hilltop, but we have some walkers approaching. We have Eren and the militia at Hilltop waiting, and then we have another shot of the survivors waiting for the walkers to approach. And then we get this reveal that they actually have these kind of like electric wires set up, which is pretty cool. This is actually a pretty awesome callback. Them using something that called back to something that happened in season 7. Back in season 7, we had this scene where Michonne and Rick got onto these cars, put ropes on each side, and then started driving the cars towards the herd, and these wires began cutting the herd in half. Remember that? That was pretty awesome, and I think they're just reusing that. And Eugene may actually be the one that came up with this. I mean, he wasn't there when that happened. Maybe they used that idea, but they put that on steroids, using Eugene's help or something like that. But as the walkers get close, the electric wire cuts through their flesh, which is pretty awesome. And then we get this shot of the walkers coming in, the militia waiting. We have Eugene, Rosita, and Luke kind of waiting around to see what happens next and how far the walkers are gonna come close before they have to take them out. And then we have this shot of this truck, which I think is connected to the electric wires that we saw in some sort of way. And then we have more walkers approaching the wires and getting cut and sliced. And then more of that. And then we see this shot of Daryl and Jerry with other militia in the back waiting again to see how far the walkers are going to come in. And then we have this shot of more walkers getting sliced in half. And that's when the pole breaks and the walkers fall down and other walkers start to get past that threshold that they had. And then we have this shot again of the militia, and then this shot of the truck, and then more shots of the survivors waiting around. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of the sneak peek. This is pretty cool, and it'll obviously lead to the walkers actually getting to the survivors and the militia actually having to kill the walkers. Like I've talked about before in my trailer breakdown, the Whisperers and Alpha probably send the herd of walkers to attack first, and then they're gonna attack afterwards. And we still don't know how much of Negan's advice Alpha really listened to, so that's also gonna be interesting to see, and to see how much that comes into play. But that's pretty much it for this sneak peek breakdown. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.